Hey everybody, hello, happy Tuesday. We're back with our summer mini master class series, and I'm so happy you guys are tuning in today. Hello, welcome. Say hello if you're joining me live. If you're watching this on the replay, type replay in the chats. So I know who is tuning in. We've only got a couple of these left because we're in August already. The last week of August, I will not have one because I will be traveling that day. So I've got today and I've got two more, and that takes us to the end of the summer. And let me know if you've enjoyed these little informal master classes where I pop in once a week, give you 20 to 30 minutes on a topic that might be helpful for you. Because if enough of you are finding this interesting and valuable, then that'll help me decide if I'm going to continue them in September, after I take a vacation the last week of August. So let me know if you found these interesting, and if there's any topics that you feel would be interesting and helpful to others that I can cover in these. I like taking your questions or your ideas of something you need help with, something you're looking for answers or clarity on. And then we get to talk about it in this forum. It's proved to be very helpful and useful to so many of you. And I love having a reason to come in and interact. So today we're talking about morning routine. And I would like for you to first answer and just think of for yourself, are you waking up how you want to? Whether you wake up naturally before the sun rises or with the sunrise, with a rooster crowing, with an alarm clock, are you waking up how you want to? And think of that in terms of, what are the first thoughts that come into your mind when you wake up? What's the level of pain in your body? Pain, stiffness, inflammation, energy. Do you need to hit snooze a whole bunch of times? Do you wake up and be like, yes, I'm so excited for this day because... First, I just want you to think of that, because as we talk about morning routine, all of us have a morning routine. Whether you think you do or you don't, you have a morning routine right now. Because odds are you're doing the same thing every morning. So that by definition is a routine, is a habit. And if we go to the work of Dr. Joe Dispenza, he really spends a lot of time in focusing and teaching us how most of what we do is a program, and it's like a videotape that gets played over and over and over again every day. It's a little bit like Groundhog Day. And some of that is awesome, and some of that has room for improvement. So if you're here because you want some energy, you want just feel healthier, you want to have less aches or pains in your body, you want to have different relationships, you want to have a different level of confidence in your life, how we start that is by looking at what we're doing first thing in the morning. When we wake up, especially that last little bit of time that we're in bed, and when we wake up, our brain is in a different wavelength. Our brain is operating on different wavelengths, and it's almost like a meditative state. So we can kind of be awake, and it's almost like a meditative state if you're aware of this. And so that is the best time for us to be really mindful and choosy about what goes into here, what goes into our ears, what we see with our eyes, and what thoughts we choose to have in our brain. Because I could listen to the same positive affirmations and it will have a different effect on my brain, which is what I really want, to rewire my brain. That's going to help me do what I'm doing every day. It will have a different effect if I do that first thing in the morning or say 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So let's pay attention to what we're doing first thing in the morning. That first hour is the best time to have quiet time, to read what you want to read, right? Something helpful or beneficial, or maybe it's inspiring or creative for you, to meditate, to be in nature, to have quality, relaxed time with loved ones, whether they be, a cat in my in my world, in my house, or with your partner or with your children. It's a different wavelength first thing in the morning that we can use. And if we can have some really important things that we do that set the foundation for our health and our energy and our longevity in the morning, the great thing is, because we do most things habitually and routinely, once we implement one or two of these strategies that I have in my morning routine guide, guess what? You're just going to do them every day. So right now, you might be going through unconsciously listening to the same thing on the radio, or waking up and turning on the Channel 7 news, or reading the newspaper. Does anyone read the newspaper anymore? Or do we all get it from our phones? Or you get up and you check your social media messaging first thing in the morning. What we do over and over again, that's habit, that's routine. And that's what has led us to our daily existences. And something I was reminded of the other day is the person who we want to become, right? So if I have a vision of the person I want to be, how I want to be acting in my work every day, how I want to be acting physically in my body, the energy level I have that vision. And then it's up to me to do the things that that person does. Does that make sense? That if I have a vision of this, and it's going to be different for all of us, right? It's going to be absolutely different for all of us. Let's say you're a new grandmother, right? Let's say you have got some like young grandbabies and you have a vision of a grandma who takes her kids for, maybe for the whole summer, right? Maybe you take your 8-year-old granddaughters for the whole summer. Maybe you take your little ones and you can relieve mom and you go to the park. Like, what's your vision of that? And what you're doing right now, day to day, does it match you being able to do that? And so when we can ask these questions and we can see that, okay, this is what I actually want to do. This is the energy I want to have in the morning. Like, how do I even want to wake up in the morning? Like, have we even asked ourselves that question before? It's a very important question. How do I even want to wake up in the morning? How do I want my energy and mood to be all day and before I go to bed? Without asking that question, we don't know what to do. And as soon as you ask yourself that question and you identify, yeah, I want to be able to take my granddaughters for 2 weeks in the summer and take them on day trips and do all these things. I want to be able to do that without having to be like, I need to sit down and rest every 5 minutes, or needing to take days off. Like, whatever that vision is for you, ask yourself that question, have that vision. And then now the choice is, okay, what a grandmother who's doing that, what would she do every day to enable that? Does that grandmother go for a walk every day? Does that grandmother eat her vegetables? Does that grandmother model healthy living to her grandchildren? Does she drink her water? Is she smiling and giving and loving? Or is she someone who moans and complains about everything? What is that? And we really do start that with our morning routine. I want to tell you a tale of caution about a morning routine. Because if you're in this group and you're reading about it and you're following this video and you interact, odds are you're going to go to Facebook or Instagram, you're going to see all kinds of things about morning routine, right? And again, in the world of like social media and Instagram, everything's like bright and shiny and like, oh, this is cool, right? And so sometimes we lose the connection of like maybe like the deeper level of like why we're doing things. And that's why I'm asking these other questions for you. And some of it is to get started is the faith of like, okay, that seems like a good idea to do. And it seems like something I would maybe like to do and I probably should do. So I'm going to get started. But we don't have to, and this is the tale of caution of not getting caught up of, okay, like what's this like person like showing this magical, beautiful morning routine and it's all like flowers and roses and rainbows every day. Like that's not the reality. So let me tell you my tale of caution with the morning routine. Years ago, I'm going to say it was like, yeah, it was probably like 10 years ago now. I was, and I still do, I work with a lot of people in the health space, obviously, right? So I learn with other functional medicine practitioners. I learn with people who are get up and go type of people. I learn with like type A, lion energy entrepreneurs. And so a lot of my mentors in like business and health are of that. And there's something called the 5 a.m. club. I was seeing a lot of them get up at 5 a.m. and do the work. And it seemed to make sense. At the time, I was managing a pharmacy. I was owning a pharmacy. I was doing that. And I was working on studying for functional medicine. And so when you've got a lot of stuff to do and you're committed full time somewhere else, your other passion projects, they're either early in the morning or they're late at night. And so it seemed to make sense to me, like, oh, okay, well, yeah, I can see if I get up at 5 a.m. and I have 1 to 2 hours of quiet, then I can get my stuff done without any distractions. So I was like, I made the decision, all right, I'm going to get up at 5 a.m. because that's what I saw other people doing. And so I thought to be successful, that's what I had to do. Right? I saw other people by my outward measure of success doing that. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to do that too. So I did. I started to get up at 5 a.m. Yeah, that lasted about a week and I was completely toast. Like I was completely like a bag of potatoes by the end of the week, only to find out later there's something called chronotype. And there's a chronotype quiz. And so by chronotype, I'm a bear. By knowing some of these people more, that 5 a.m. person, they're the lions. Like they have a lion chronotype. So there's a difference between people who can wake up and like get up at 4 or 5 a.m. and like absolutely thrive. They're naturally wired to do that. I'm naturally wired as a bear. And if you just go to Google and put in chronotype, it's like know your chronotype. There's a free quiz you can do. So I'm a bear, and about 50% of the population is a bear. And bears work best if we get up with the sun and we go down with the sun. We work best with the natural rhythms of Earth. So I was trying to live like a lion and I was a bear. So it didn't take long for me to realize that that was not going to work for me. So in the morning routine, as you're gathering information, as if you don't yet have the morning routine guide, we'll put the link for that below. So make sure you get the morning routine guide because I've got ideas and suggestions and everything here is pretty doable. But again, the timing can be different. Right. So because I see somebody else and their morning routine is up at 6 a.m., meditate, yoga, blah, 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 right? That's their morning routine. So I want you to identify the things you want to do in your morning. And then also realize the morning goes to like 11:59 a.m. So certain things like when you choose to break your fast, when you choose to have your first meal of the day, that's going to be different for each one of you. The core concept of when you break your fast, your first meal of the day, that the focus should be the same. It should have 20 to 30 grams of protein. It should be nice and balanced. We don't want it just a high carbohydrate load. We want a nice, focused, balanced meal to start our day. Now, some of you might have that meal at 6 a.m. Some of you might have that meal at 11 a.m., right? So focus on like the what, and then also relax that it doesn't need to happen at a perfect prescriptive time. The one thing I will recommend is like the first thing when you wake up is have 2 glasses of water, right? So like 16 ounces of water. So what I do is my liter mason jar, right? Here's your reminder from Natalie today to have a drink of water. It wouldn't be a Natalie video without that. So I fill up my liter mason jar with my Berkey water filter, and then I have half before I move on to my cup of coffee, right? So I start my day with about 500 mils of water, 2 cups of water. So that would be one of the first things I would love for you to do in the day. And some of you, how you take that water in, it might be different. Some of you might get up and just chug that whole two cups of water, no problem. Some of you might sip that slowly over 90 minutes. That's okay, right? So knowing the what to do, and we'll learn a little bit about the why and being okay with when it happens for you. So I love that's like number one. It's starting your day with water. Why? You've been sleeping hopefully 8-ish hours and haven't taken any water in. You wake up dehydrated. When you're breathing, when we breathe out water molecules. And if you wake up, this can be another thing. I should make a checklist, right? I should make a quiz of how you wake up. Do you wake up with a dry mouth? Do you wake up with a dry mouth? Then you know internally your body is dried out. You need some hydration first thing in the morning. So don't be jumping to your coffee right away. Let's rehydrate the body, okay? Absolutely important. If you wake up with a dry mouth, ask if you sleep with other people in the house, ask them if you snore. If you don't, there's an app you can use to see, are you snoring? If you're waking up with a dry mouth, that's telling me your mouth is probably open, which is not ideal. And you're more likely to be snoring. So that's just something to tune into. I love starting the day with the morning sun. As a bear, especially, I work best. And again, 50% of you watching this are bears by population average. 50% of you are bears. So you work best with morning sun, noon, sunset. Whether you're a bear or not, getting that information that it is morning time helps set your hormones and helps set your circadian rhythm for the day. So what are we doing first thing in the morning? What's that habit and routine? It's so common that it's so common for some of us to not go outside at all, right? And we're not talking if it's like a rainy day or like -40 below, but so many of us on a regular given day never really go outside. And that is a missed opportunity for setting our hormones and setting our metabolism and setting our circadian rhythm. The next thing I want you to ask is, do you have the energy you want to all day? Like, do you have the energy you want to in the mid-afternoon? Do you have the energy you want to in the evening? Because that's the opportunity of, and how important it is to focus on that morning. If you're like, yeah, I have the energy, everything's rocking in the afternoon, evening, everything's awesome, on point, awesome. That tells us that you're supporting your body, how it is best for your body. If there's gaps, if there's area of opportunity, one of the most powerful places to start is, how am I starting my morning? If I know after supper, like, forget it, I'm toast, like I'm just sitting on the couch, there's like nothing happening, I'm probably going to fall asleep. It's not really bedtime, but I'm probably going to fall asleep. I'm exhausted. If you want that to shift, how I would encourage you to make that happen is by starting to look at, how am I starting my morning? Not necessarily just what we did for dinner, not just what we did the hour or two before that, but what happened all day. And it starts with a very mindful morning. That's where I love that. So the setting with the sun, there's receptors in our, think of it even just, okay, we're in 2023, right? How long ago did like our great grandparents like not really have like electricity at the flick of a switch? Really not that long ago. So as humans, we are wired and we are in tune with nature. And the further we get disconnected from nature and the natural cues and rhythms it provides to us, the further our bodies struggle with nervous system balance, with hormonal balance, because it's away from that natural cycle. So what we can do first thing in the morning is, and this is kind of like the structure of my morning, and the timing varies different day to day, and it doesn't always happen. But if I get up, I have my water, put on the kettle, and I sit outside with my water, with my bare feet on the ground, with my cat outside with me, and the sun's just coming up, right? Like, there is so much happening in that few moments, but it's just 3 to 5 minutes of intended time. And I don't really have to even do anything. Like, I'm literally sitting outside with my water, with my feet on the ground. But I know there's a lot happening for me by doing that, and having that powerful mindset and intention that what I am doing makes a difference for my day. The mindset and the encouragement and the positive reinforcement you will get from your neurotransmitters, from like dopamine and serotonin, is priceless. It's priceless to be able to take that few moments. So in the morning routine, I talk about these things. I talk about getting morning sunlight exposure, right? Because the sun, when it's coming up, getting the light the first few hours of the day increases our serotonin, which is our feel-good neurotransmitter. We feel happier, we feel more alert. It elevates our mood, right? It elevates our mood, right? Why is, it's summertime vacation season here in Canada, right? Everyone's showing pictures of, they're at the lake, right? They're at the cottage, they're here, they're vacationing. And what are they showing? They're showing like beautiful outside nature pictures, sunsets, out on the water, sitting, having their coffee out on the lake. So in the environment where we're not in our day-to-day rush, that's what we're naturally gravitated to do. Take your coffee, sit outside, and look over the lake. And we might not have a lake nearby to sit out and look over day to day, but what can we take from that, right? We removed the other distractions while you're on vacation, and that's what you naturally gravitated to do. And you felt calm, and you felt peaceful. And so we can absolutely do that every day. And then the kids will wake up and everything else for the rest of the day might go out the window. But if you started that with the intention, I promise you it will make a difference in how you feel and how you're showing up for yourself and everyone else throughout the day. So the morning sunlight increases serotonin, increases our mood. The bonus is that serotonin is converted to melatonin later in the day. So as the sun goes down, we will have more melatonin available to us, and then we will have a better sleep. Melatonin is our, I don't want to say, there's no real opposites with hormones, but they have partners. So cortisol and melatonin have a relationship to each other. And typically when cortisol is higher, melatonin is lower. In the morning, I didn't even talk about this, but one of the benefits of getting up and getting outside and moving our body a little bit is it helps to have a nice cortisol rise in the mornings, which is when we should be having our cortisol rise. We should have our cortisol rise in the morning. We should have low melatonin in the morning because we're waking up. And it should be the opposite at night. We should have a nice melatonin rise before bed, and we should have low levels of cortisol. So that is the pattern for healthy sleep. That is a pattern and a recipe for your hormones being on pattern and target. And a lot of us, that pattern and target is off. We do not have that ideal pattern. This is what we do to, I don't want to say force it, but this is what we do to lay the imprint. It's like taking a stamp. It's like taking a stamp and going, this is what we want. And I'm going to keep doing it over and over again until the hormones start to come back into that alignment. That is the power of a morning routine, of this morning routine guide that I'm giving to you guys. We are setting the template and the pattern of the hormonal signals that you want. And from cortisol, everything else flows down, right? When cortisol is off, it will affect all your other hormones in the body. So starting the morning with intention, with some sun, what is being fed into your brain? Is it a meditation? Are you listening to a positive affirmation? Are you listening to something spiritual or something uplifting? Or are you just turning on CNN? Or you just opening up Facebook and starting to scroll, right? That will happen later in the day, which is fine, but really safeguard that first hour that you're awake, really safeguard what you are exposed to through your eyes and through your ears and through your own, have some awareness of the thoughts that are running the program in your brain that first hour in the day. And if we can lay a different template down through intentionally doing some meditation or doing some breath work or just being out in nature, it will change the thoughts at the start of your day. I love to practice gratitude. This is a teaser. I'm actually working on making my own gratitude journal and getting it self-published. The gratitude practice, choosing to focus for a few moments in the morning of what I'm grateful for. Would you rather choose in the morning to think of a few things you're grateful for or to think about all the terrible things in the world? Again, it's not that we're not going to think about all those things that need to be done, all the other things that will get our attention. They'll get our attention. But you have a moment, you have a very powerful opportunity to choose what you want to focus on, right? And choosing to focus on what am I looking forward to in this day? What am I grateful for right now in this moment? What is that? I was so grateful when I woke up this morning. One, because I had a really good sleep last night. And kind of funny story about the 5 a.m. thing. Yesterday morning, I actually woke up really early. I I woke up about 4:30, went to the bathroom, and I was in bed, and it was just one of those, like, I could go back to sleep, but my nudge was like, get up and go to work. So I did. I got up yesterday, I got up early, and I came onto the computer at like 6 a.m., which that does not normally happen. It was outside of my usual, but I still, once I had worked for a little bit, like I still got up, had my water, right? The timing was different. And then after I'd worked for a little bit, got the things that were spinning in my brain, got them out and got rolling on my day, then I still went, took my coffee outside, did my journal, did my reading, took the cat outside, took care of the butterfly. So I still did all of that stuff, but it might happen a different day. So don't look at the morning routine as something rigid and fixed. Look at it as just that. Who am I? What are the things I want to do? What are that vision of myself, whether it's tomorrow or next week or 3 years from now? What does that person do on a regular basis? And then we start to build those things into what we're doing. So a morning routine, like I was working with a client before, and due to a very interesting corporate job, that she basically like got up at like 5 or 6 a.m. and was on the computer first thing, because half of her team was on the other side of the world. And so sometimes we have these push and pulls for job. So we had to design her morning routine based on like the very reality of like what she felt she needed to do for her work and her career. So the timing of when she did things was very different from what maybe the next person was. But we looked at structuring her morning, and then we can release the pressure that it all has to happen in the first hour that you wake up. That's not what a morning routine is, right? So that's a danger or a myth that, oh, if I didn't do my yoga in that first hour that I was awake, forget it. It doesn't need to happen today. No, maybe it happens at 11 o'clock when you take a little break from work and you get up from your desk, because maybe you had an early meeting, right? Maybe you had an early meeting, or the kids needed something else, and instead of them getting on the bus, you needed to drive them to school. These things happen. And I tell you, my best days are when I get those things done, and they might not all happen again in that magic 60 to 90 minutes of first thing I wake up. But I can also check in and ask myself, what am I missing? Right? It serves as the checklist. I'm like, oh, what am I missing from my morning? So my morning walk doesn't happen a lot of mornings, right? So sometimes it happens in the morning, sometimes it'll be at noon. So because I know that template, that stamp, right? This is what makes a great day for me, then I include those in my day. It's amazing. It's great. It's great when it happens all first thing in the morning, and I wake up and the sun is shining, and outside and the birds are singing and there's butterflies. Because there's butterflies at my house. If you don't know, I raise monarch butterflies, right? So it's butterfly season. There's lots of butterflies around. And there was one flying outside the window not too long ago. That's not the reality of every day. But I pull back to that list and I can ask myself, and I can check in. Did I do this? Yes or no? And if I didn't do it first thing in the morning, when am I going to do it? Right? Can I make time for it a little bit later in the day, even if it's just a little moment of time, So I've given you some do's and don'ts. I've given you some words of caution with a morning routine. I hope you've appreciated like my passion and how important it is that we pay attention to this. What are we doing first thing in the morning? Because I promise you, it sets the template for everything else. And if you're here because you're looking to make some healthy, helpful shifts in your routine and what you're doing day to day, this is a great practice, no pun intended, to get you started, to start building the habit of looking at, asking yourself, how am I feeling right now? How would I like to feel? What could I do for myself? What did I forget to do today? What should I choose to do next? With answering and asking those questions starts with the mindset for healing morning routine. So we'll put that link in below if you don't have it please go ahead and grab that morning routine so you've got the template so you can build your perfect morning routine. And as I sign off for today, I would love if you put in the comments, what's your favorite part of your morning routine? Is it your journal? Is it your coffee? Is it quiet time with your cat? Is it your nature walk? Is it, you know, I love it where with some couples where it's like, you know, it's really only the half hour that me and my partner have together and we do this, right? We sit and we just talk, right? We have half an hour. So what is it that you love to do in the morning? Because I know you do different things than I do, and your ideas are going to help give other people ideas as well. So go ahead and grab that morning routine, and I will be back next week. Next week we go live at 12:30. So I will see y'all then.